Okay, lymphedema. Let's talk about some tips that you can do in between treatments to help ease the symptoms of lymphedema. I have some that are for patients who are able to move and then also for patients who are bedbound. Overall, though, they should be pretty interchangeable, but I'll point out the ones that are not. So, first of all, the first three things that anyone would tell you is compression, elevation, and movement. So, these three things are kind of like non-negotiable, especially at the beginning stages of lymphedema. So, when you first noticed it or first been diagnosed. So, you can either do compression socks or you can also do compression boots that are available. If you're working and you have to leave the house often, whatever it is, compression socks might be easier. If you are able to kind of stay put and you're maybe working from home or not working, whatever it is, make sure that when you do have compression socks on or when you don't feel like you want to wear them, that you're then able to do some elevation. So if you're working from home and you're sitting a lot, at least try to elevate whatever area has the lymphedema. If you are able to move, movement is great. Movement doesn't just have to be walking or working out. It can also be just movement of the limbs in any way, shape, or form. It's pretty crucial that you get some sort of movement since the lymph vessels themselves are either damaged or having a very tough time returning any sort of fluid in them. The movement is kind of all there is, and the elevation and the compression are also kind of forms of movement. So these three things are absolute non-negotiables. You have to have them. Um, the rest of what I'm going to say is kind of tacking on to that. And then also if you're not able to do any of those for whatever reason. So, first one would be immune breathing. So, this is where you can either breathe in through your mouth or your nose. So, you can take a deep breath in and fill up your entire chest. Hold it for as long as possible. I usually say at least 10 seconds. If you can go longer, do. And then out slowly through your nose. So, and try to really expand your rib cage. That's a great way to get blood, oxygen, and lymph flowing in this whole part of your body, and I mean, really your whole body. But I also mention this a lot for patients with neck tension and to kind of breathe into those muscles. There is a ton of lymphatic drainage that happens in this area, and so doing this can help pump it if you're unable to move a lot. So doing an immune breath in, and you can either do again like through your mouth or through your nose. The next one would be to make sure that you have adequate selenium. This is really a tip because I'm kind of using it as make sure that all your vitamins are in check. There is a link between lymphedema and selenium deficiency. Not so much that selenium deficiency causes lymphedema, but more that it's just a correlation between the two. I have a specific multivitamin that I tend to recommend to patients, so you can just ask me. We've maybe gone over it already. And it's one that has selenium in it and also a bunch of other essential nutrients that sometimes people are missing, and that can really aid in your lymphatic system and your immune system in general to be able to clear some of the sludge that's there. Number 3 would be to remain hydrated. This is so crucial. especially if you're on a diuretic prescribed by a doctor. Some people might think, okay, well, I'm on a diuretic and that's supposed to make me pee out water, so why would I be drinking a lot of water? It's kind of like a pump, so you got to keep it moving on all the sides to kind of flush out the excess fluid that we currently have going on. Also, diuretics, if you're on them for a prolonged period of time and you're not hydrated, they can cause hypotension, so low blood pressure. And then it can kind of have an opposite effect where now you're not able to pump properly or really very little, and now it's stagnating fluid even more. So make sure that you're hydrated. Spring water is best, but do what you can. Along with kind of like your space, make sure that everything is clean if possible. So make sure there's no dust around. I have kind of later on as a tip to have plants in your space because that's really great for air quality. But you want to make sure that your plants aren't just collecting dust, because then they can kind of be like dust balls. So dusting, vacuuming, having an air purifier, that is a great way to try to clean out whatever is in the air. We honestly have no idea what's in the air in our environment, and if you are at a depleted state or you're chronically ill, being able to clean that as best as possible is really to your advantage. So dusting, having plants that are dusted, and also having an air purifier are great options. Along with that, you want to declutter your space if possible. Sometimes when we are overwhelmed with illness, whether it is chronic or not, it overwhelms our system, and so having an overwhelming space can really overload us mentally, physically, emotionally, with our immune system. So being able to kind of take up space again in your space that you're in and have this outward, upward movement is really important. I mean, it sounds woo-woo, but it really is important to cultivate strength from within, is to have this posture of, okay, I'm here, I'm taking up space, and I'm pushing out the toxins, the cells that are dead, the stuff I don't want, the stuff that's not moving. I'm kind of pushing, I'm moving, I'm one with the air that I'm breathing in and out, and having, I've found, less clutter and less to look at helps your mind get into that space. And it also kind of helps you assert boundaries, both internally, so your body can assert boundaries with incoming pathogens, but you're also able to assert boundaries with others, and that alone kind of helps you heal. So if you're able to declutter, I would suggest doing so. You could do it like 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be all at once. Go through a pile of papers if you can, and see how far you can get in a couple of weeks. This one is really important for everyone, but especially if you have something going on with your lymphatic system. It's to breathe out of your nose, no mouth breathing, unless it's the immune breathing that I was talking about before for, a few seconds a day, a few minutes a day. Your nose actually filters the air that we breathe in, and it also warms it. So it's pretty crucial to make sure that less pathogens, less whatever weird shit is in the air gets into your body, whereas your mouth doesn't have that same filter. So nostril breathing throughout the day, very important. If you notice that at night you snore or you wake up exhausted, or you just know that you mouth breathe at night, try mouth taping. It doesn't have to be the big one that covers completely, but they have like little X's, or one strip that just goes right in the middle, or ones with holes in them. And try that and see if that helps with your sleep quality. Okay, this one might seem kind of obvious, but getting a lymph brush for yourself to do some lymphatic drainage would be great. If you can do lymphatic massages, that's awesome. Not everyone can, so if you can't actually get a lymph massage, just doing massage on yourself or using a brush, and you're moving upwards always, upward toward your groin, upward toward your armpits, and then outward on the chest, and try to get some movement in the lymphatic system that way as well. I think I have it written as another tip, but percussion and humming is another great way to kind of add some vibration into the body, and also let loose anything that's stagnant and move. And so you can either hum if you're really weak and unable to percuss yourself, so like kind of tapping up and down. That's a good way, or humming, or doing both at the same time. Those are great ways to introduce movement into your body without having to do a ton of work. Okay, keeping your feet warm. For venous return, this is really important. It's also really important for muscle tension and fascial tension. So your feet are connected to all the fascia of your body by, all these strips of fascia. So if they're cold, it can tense up and kind of cause overall tension in the body. However, on top of that, also for returning fluids back up. So this is especially important if you have lymphedema in the lower extremities. You want to make sure that your feet are warm always. Really, really important. Kind of another one for your space is keeping windows open to let in new fresh air. That helps your immune system as well. And then also sunlight. So if you're able to go outside in the morning and get some direct sun onto you, and especially in your eyes, not necessarily like looking at the sun, but just looking out and having no sunglasses on for a few minutes and just getting direct sunlight into your eyes is great. And then if you can just have your windows open all day long and sun coming in all day long is also very healing. Sweating is super, super important to let go of whatever is, whether it's pathogens, toxins, etc., that are being stagnated in your body. So if you're able to move and work out and sweat, good. If you're not, then we can talk about herbs that help induce sweat, or sometimes even that immune breathing will help induce sweat, where you breathe in, hold, exhale. Even just a light sweat is great. But when you do sweat, you want to make sure that you dry off and then bundle up, and then you can sweat again. But you don't want to have like clammy skin that cold air is touching. So sweat, let it out, and then bundle up. Kind of along with that, you want to make sure that your neck is always warm and or covered. You don't ever want any drafts blowing on your neck, especially like AC, none of that. If you can wear a scarf if you live in a drafty area, then try to do that to protect it and keep it warm. And again, if you sweat and this whole area gets clammy, then try to, either dry it off or bundle it up so that it doesn't have then cold air hitting it with the sweat and the pores open. There's kind of along with the one where I was talking about boundaries and boundaries with others and asserting boundaries within your space. Along with that, you have the power to change, and it is within you. And healing really does come from the person, and other people are really just facilitators of that healing and can help guide you there, but you are doing the transformation. So feel that power, use that power, and harness that to heal. E-stim, moxa, and acupuncture are 3 things that I also do with patients. So we, do that together, and that's great. Food, super important, your diet. It is really hard to eat processed, sugary food all the time and heal from anything, let alone a chronic condition. So it is unfortunately one of those things that, everyone talks about diet, eating clean, whatever that means, eating well. It really is just that important. So if you can, try to at least do a lot of protein. That protein and greens, I would say, are the 2 things that you really, really want to hone in on. If you can't eat a lot of protein for whatever reason, then try to just do shakes at least. Adding, if you're cooking for yourself or someone else is cooking for you, adding in ginger, garlic, black pepper, fresh herbs, lemon to any dish is a great way to get some nutrients, but also, just tastes good. You want to minimize the things that you are using that are prepackaged. So if you get that minced garlic that's prepackaged, try to just cut the garlic yourself, or the fake lemon juice. Just buy the lemons, cut them yourself, use them. Try to use things that are whole foods and try to eat that way for as long as possible with this condition, so your body has the building blocks that it needs to push out what it no longer needs. I kind of touched on this before, but no direct AC on especially your head and your neck. Really anywhere, you shouldn't have it blowing on you, but try to keep your space warm. And if you do need to cool it down, I live in LA, so that's pretty important, then at least have it blowing just in the environment, but not necessarily directly on you, especially in this area. If you are either bedbound or if you just, have some downtime, whatever, you can massage your chest outward. You can either do little circles along your collarbone and your ribs, or you can just kind of push lightly outwards, and it will help to release some of the tension, and also it's acting as kind of like a little lymphatic massage. Similarly, again, before with the breathing all the way out, you always want to be trying to expand your rib cage when you're breathing. So really using that mechanism that is innate and something that is good for us to use, just expanding your rib cage and then breathing out. You can also move your neck to the side as you do this and kind of get a stretch in there, help move some lymph as well. For bedbound patients, if you can do any of what I just mentioned, that's amazing. Please do it. It's going to help a lot. But especially for people that are bedbound, you want to make sure that you are constantly being washed at least once a day, just to prevent any infection and also to prevent bed sores. You want to make sure that you're still brushing your teeth. Even though you're bedbound, you still need to be brushing your teeth, even if you're not eating a lot, and even though you're not really seeing maybe that many people, whatever, brush your teeth and tongue scrape. There is a ton of bacteria that can live in the mouth, and that has direct access to the rest of your digestive tract and therefore potentially the rest of your body. So it's really important that you keep this area hygienic. So still brush your teeth twice a day, and if you can, tongue scrape to get rid of any other biofilm that might be starting to occur. You want to manage your food and water intake. Just because you're not burning a ton of calories doesn't mean that you cannot eat and not drink water. The strength to be able to move this excess fluid that you have comes from food and water. So your body needs it to maintain your blood pressure and also to make sure that all the pumps in our vessels are working properly and have the force to be able to move. So adequate hydration and especially protein intake are very important. If you are laying down, you're able, you can kind of move your arms above your head. It's not super important in which way that you move them, but just to kind of get, again, this whole area working with lymphatic drainage, kind of stretch out a little, put some muscle tension out there, try to get rid of it, try to move your fascia, and move in whatever way that you possibly can. So another good way to do maybe some neck movement is to flex forward, and you can actually write the ABCs with your neck and get some movement in there. Again, great for blood flow, lymph flow, returning oxygen to the body. You can also massage around your ears and down your neck to your clavicle. So maybe with your chest massage, you can also do it like this, just around your body lightly or down your neck. If you can do it around your groin area, especially if you have lower extremity lymphedema, that would be really helpful too. Just kind of like pull up from the thigh and get that moving. You can also do belly circles in a clockwise direction, so get some movement there. It can also help with going to the bathroom. And like I said before, do that percussion or at least hum to get some vibration and movement as well if you're unable to actually physically move. Lower extremity edema, also maybe like lifting your knees and moving them from side to side, or having an assisted help so someone can hold them up and you can try your best to lift as much as possible and then also have help and get them moving. As you can tell, the whole theme here really is movement and upward and outward. We want to kind of push everything upward and outward and move. So I hope some of these were helpful. Try to implement as many as you can, and then we also will be working on the rest of it together. So yes, see you next time.